Hi, I'm Dr. George Yancey. Let's share some paradigms. Paradigm I share today is Twitter racism. So I've been on Twitter about 6 or 7 years now. I'm on Facebook and Twitter, if you ever want to look me up. And I'm probably more on Facebook than Twitter. Twitter is much more of a wild, wild west type of social media. People are more, I don't want to even say honest, I'll just say brutal in Twitter than they are on Facebook, although they can be brutal on Facebook as well. And here's what I've observed the past 2 or 3 years. I'm seeing more and more examples of very overt racism. I have a colleague who is, if I describe him too much, people may guess who it is, but he is mixed race. And when I go to his page, because he has more followers than I do, I see people say, go back to your country. They talk about the color of his skin. I mean, some very, very disturbing stuff has happened on Twitter. And it wasn't there a few years ago. Now, part of it is you can be totally anonymous. So if you are racist, you don't pay the price for that racism. So I get that. But why did I say a few years ago? And maybe I just wasn't around the right accounts. Maybe it was there a few years ago. I don't have systematic evidence of this. My sense is that it has become worse over the past few years. Now, I would love to see a study that sees whether it's true or not, but that's my sense. I have a couple of ideas why it's gotten worse over the past few years. And my ideas is that this is a bipartisan problem. Okay, so let's go into this. People always have racism. In the past, they hid it. They hid it because there's a cost to it. Now, once again, if your handle is Mr. White Guy or whatever, then no one knows who you are. You can have some sort of avatar for your picture. No one knows who you are. But even back then, I think people there's still a sort of a shame. Like, you're Mr. White Guy and you're there and you go to my Twitter feed and call me the N-word or whatever, then there'll be a backlash. Even though you're anonymous, people would say, how dare you do that? The disturbing part is I'm seeing people maybe not use the N-word, but engage in this racist rhetoric, and no one's calling them out for it. I believe one of the reasons why this is happening is due to the emergence of a Trump administration that has downplayed the problem of racism. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that those on the left upplay it sometimes, upplay to the degree that's not there, talk about we're in slavery and junk like this. So I'm not saying that the left doesn't upplay it. But what I am saying is that there's been a downplaying of the real racism that's out there, almost an assumption that real racism is few and far between. And I wish that was true. Maybe a few years ago, I could believe that was true. Having seen some of this vitriol on Twitter, race-based vitriol against people of color, I'm not so sure anymore. And thus, it sort of gives a freedom for people to engage. It's a permission structure, if you will, for people to engage in racism. There's a lot of white victimization. And I'm not saying that there aren't times where whites are not victimized, but emphasis on this white victimization, which is given free reign. Many of the same people who talk about white victimization never or almost never talk about situations where blacks have been victimized. Think about that. Think about some of the people on the right who are always talking about how whites are victimized. Did they ever talk about situations where African Americans were victimized? Just consider that. And those situations do come up. We've had situations of police shootings of blacks that got national attention. Do they ever talk about that? So what this has done is it's given permission structure to think about just whites as victims. Oh, those people of color, they're just making up all this racism. And ironically, that's freed people up to engage in racism. And the same people who talk about white victimization, who have platforms will not call out people who engage in this sort of racism. So, yes, part of it is the emergence of Trump, the way he engages in race baiting, the way he gives permission structure for some of the worst elements of our society. I don't accuse Trump of being racist per se, because the way that word is used, but I do think he placates racism. Okay, if you enjoy this conversation, please give this a like. Please consider subscribing to this channel. The other issue, though, comes on the left. As I've already alluded to it, sometimes those on the left blow things out of proportion. And one of the problems I've seen on the left is that they'll take the word racism and they've expanded the meaning of the word racism. So racism is no longer just the person who uses the N-word or burns a cross or insults Asians or calls Hispanic names, that sort of stuff. No, a racist is someone who engages in white supremacy. There are people who do not agree with us on institutional racism, who do not support people of color and affirmative action, who do not have the right political ideologies. That becomes white supremacy. That becomes racism. That denigrates the term racism so that now, if you call someone a racist, are they a racist because they hate people of different races? Or are they a racist because they don't want hate crimes legislation? Or they oppose a permissive immigration policy? One can disagree with people who want very restrictive immigration policy, who don't want to deal with institutional racism. One can disagree with them and not call them a racist. We're not saying that they're engaged in white supremacy. Those words have meaning, but now the meanings change by some of the activities done on the left. So both problems on the left and right have contributed to this sort of freedom some people feel and engage in some nasty racism online. And we should be concerned about that, because the more people feel free to engage in this sort of racism online, the more coarse our society becomes, and the more at ease people will have to engage in the nasty sort of racism that we thought we had gotten rid of. Our call is to try to confront some of the race baiting on the right and some of the redefinition of racism, other terms, on the left. I think if we do that, the people who feel so comfortable using this racist rhetoric today will start feeling less comfortable. We can't get rid of it completely, but I believe we can greatly lessen it. And I believe that we should do what we can to lessen this sort of coarse dialogue we have on Twitter, and I fear in other spaces. Will you enjoy this? Please come back and can shatter some more paradigms.